everybody, welcome back. This is a challenge that I've been wanting to try. It is if I can beat Resident Evil 4 without killing anything. Here, I thought that I would be able to not kill the Ganado, but it is not possible to avoid killing this Ganado. So then I realized certain enemies would have to be killed or bosses for progression. So at this point, I have to kill the Ganado in the house. So once after I killed the Ganado in the house, I avoided the others. Because basically what I was trying to do is limit the amount of kills I would have to do every chapter. So this chapter I was only going to have to kill only specific enemies for specific reasons. So now I got the prompt to leave the house. So what I did was I avoided them and I headed back, headed down to where the dog is. This area from this point on, you don't have to kill any of the enemies. You'd only have to avoid them. It's easy in the beginning to avoid these enemies, but you'll see much later in this video that it becomes very difficult in doing so. But this area specifically and the area afterwards is going to be very easy to avoid enemies. As long as you just keep moving and you don't interact with them, you'll be able to. So the rules of this challenge is basically I'm not allowed to really kill anything unless it hinders progress, they drop an item, or they're a boss. So with those three instances, those are the only times I can kill any of the enemies. Next, I'm not allowed to I'm only allowed to use pistols or other weapons just to stun enemies. I'm allowed to. I'm also allowed to use flashbangs to get away from enemies to defend myself in a way. If a Plaga accidentally dies, if I have a group of enemies, I'm allowed to. That's fine. Like if one enemy dies and there's like 9 or 10 enemies, and I just throw a flashbang and one of the Plagas dies, it's not counted against me because it was by accident. I didn't purposely do it. Any accidental deaths are fine if I didn't intentionally kill them with intention. Also, if any of the enemies die to grab attacks or Leon kicks them off, those are seen as ones out of self-defense. Those aren't intentional kills. And any environmental kills or kills done by Luis do not count against Leon because those deaths weren't incurred by him using any guns and they were, like I said, environmental, so they don't count. So I was able to get through the village fight just by doing the strat I do, which is running around in the border of the village. I sped this up because it gets kind of redundant and I don't want you guys being bored with me running around in circles. But those are basically the rules of the challenge. It's mostly rules regarding around interactions with enemies more than, weapons or saves or healing items. All those I'm allowed to use. Also, obviously, I can't use any of the grenades unless they're incendiary for Mendez or flashbangs. So now we're heading to the farm. The farm, not like in the remake, in the original, you can avoid all the enemies and just go for the door. And that's what I decided to do after I saved because of the boulder. So once you get into the farm, like I said, you really don't have to interact with nobody. I just save and I go to the boulder section. Also, this area is good for getting healing items because of the eggs. I'm sorry. Had a yawn. But for the most part, it wasn't too hard avoiding the enemies in the farm. But as you see much later that this challenge is not easy as we progress, but for this chapter it's pretty easy to get through everything. My strat for doing these boulder sections is to button mash even before the boulder drops, so you have a head start, because on professional, the QTEs are very unforgiving. So in this part, you can shoot dynamite out of their hands because you're not shooting the enemies, you're shooting the dynamite, so that's fine. Or you can bait them into the tripwires because those are environmental deaths. So that's what I did here. I don't know how this guy died. I don't know if the dynamite blew up and it hit the tripwire, but bro's dead. But I didn't shoot him, obviously, so I'm not liable for what happened to him. I don't know why I got this, because I wasn't going to sell the Bearstein because I don't have it. I guess it was just force of habit. Now we're almost done with this chapter. There's no more enemies, so all we have to do is just go get Luis. Because in the remake they do put a enemy in here, but in the original there's no more enemies after the dynamite dudes. And it starts to get harder because once you start integrating a lot of enemies into areas where you're supposed to kill them and you're trying to avoid them, it gets pretty hard, but for now it's still remotely easy. So we're going to be ending chapter 1-1, and we will be starting chapter 1-2. And so far we only killed 2 enemies. One was the guy in the house, and the other one was the one with the tripwire. So now this chapter is much more difficult avoiding enemies. Usually what I do is I get the rifle and I shoot the ones that are walking around and then leave. But since I can't kill them with the rifle, I have to run. And just an FYI, you will get hit on this unless you are a pro at dodging enemies in this game, but you will get hit, and you will get hit often, unfortunately. So, I get the first piece to open the door with only getting hit once. It's easier to get this one first and then go to the next one, because all you have to do is go to the next one and run, but I made the mistake of going this way, because I thought I would circle around the enemies, but when I circle around, you will see shortly that all of them clustered in the row, and then I got hit more, which is unfortunate, but it happens. So now, I get hit again. So I had to run back around and go through the area. And I think I shoot one of the barrels and one of the enemies died, but I think those died because of the dynamite that one of them was holding. So now I go up the ramp and up to where we have to go for the second piece for the door. And there's an enemy here that I normally kill, but I use the barrel to kill him so I can get the other piece for the door. And then after that, I leave this area and go to the next area of this part. As long as you just keep moving and you don't stop and you just get both pieces, you can leave with minimal damage done to Leon. And I don't know how I dodged that dynamite, but I guess it happens. This area is just like filler in my opinion. All you do is you go and you walk to another door. It's a waste. There's like barrels here, but 9 out of 10 times they really don't give you anything on professional. And besides, I really don't need ammo because I'm not killing anything. So, after this, this is where it kind of gets a little bit more difficult per se. Because I thought the enemies in this area specifically stay in the spot that they're in, but they don't. They actually can leave this area and go to the next area with the bear traps and the guys with the dynamite. So it was kind of hard to do that. Because normally I kill all of those and I go and I shoot the dynamite there. But when I realized the guy was trying to go through the window, I was like, well, I'll just die. But I got lucky because one of the dynamites hit those guys. And I'm allowed to shoot environmental hazards, but I don't know how I survive that either. I'm allowed to shoot environmental hazards, and if I need to shoot something off the wall or whatever, because obviously they're not enemies. And as I try to leave this area, I get hit again because I guess our little grandpa over there wanted to hit Leon with a rake. Poor Mr. Kennedy, who didn't see it coming. Now in this part here, on the bottom area, there is stuff down there. But I get that off screen. There's fish down there, and there's also, I think, a flash grenade and ammo for the handgun. So we are done with chapter 1-2. 1-2 is officially done after you do the puzzle and you get the key at Mendy Tendy's house. The Mendy Tendy house is not as long as the one in the remake, because how you enter the house is very different from the one in the remake. You kind of do it backwards. In the original, you just do the puzzle and just get the key, but in the remake, you start on the first floor. You have to get the marble and then go upstairs and get the key. So it kind of put more steps to it. But now we will be ending this chapter and going into, I think, believe 1-3. That chapter was also pretty easy. We only killed now 8 more enemies, but all of them were environmental kills. I didn't kill any of the enemies normally. Now with this chapter introduces Salvador again. And the easiest way that I did, and I will show in a few minutes after I get the egg, is that the flashbang, if you throw it at a certain angle, you'll be able to run past all the enemies plus Salvador, and that's what I do. I take one of my flashbangs, I throw it, and then I just run. I don't know how that's possible, but I did it. The next cluster of enemies by the door, I do the same thing. I take a flashbang, I chuck it, and then I run for the door. That's the best way of doing it because the enemies will gang up on you and kill you very quickly. So it's best to just beat them at their own game, throw a flashbang, and just hightail out of there. Now I'm just doing the same strat I normally do. I go down the ramp and I just go around the perimeter and get to the door of the small church so I can go and get further towards where Ashley is. And also, I suggest if you guys ever want to attempt this challenge, make sure to save as often as possible, because you don't know if you can get past the areas again, because some areas that I had to get past are very difficult to get past during this challenge. Just trust me, it is. Especially much later in this video, I was not having fun. Obviously, I was not enjoying this at all. Because my type of play style is just going and just shooting everything in sight. So it was like, I have to run away from y'all now. And trust me, the remake is a hell of a lot easier to run away because I just ditch Ashley, but you guys will see that when I finish that challenge. I really don't have to go and use the merchant because I can't upgrade any of my guns. My pistol's unupgraded, by the way, because I had to sell it and rebuy it, so I don't kill anything with the blacktail. I do have a maxed out broken butterfly, but that's for the bosses. That's for like big thick and stuff. So during this path, I do avoid the two enemies, the one male Ganado and the female Ganado, and I just go up the path to where the church is. And there's an enemy with pieces of a stick of dynamite. So I was trying to bait him to throw it and then lead the enemies there so they die. But it didn't happen. A few of them died from it, but not all of them did. And then after that, one of them survived. I don't know how that happened, but I kicked him off and I just went the wrong way, of course, because like I said, Leon wants to sniff his tree, so let him do it, you know? There's nothing wrong with him enjoying the, nature. But Hannigan was getting lippy and told me to go to the door, which I will be going to the door in a few seconds. Because I'm so used to Leon just going to the door in the remake, and then you just go and go to the fishing village. So now I head down to the path, and I'm able to avoid the enemies just by stunning the one enemy and passing the other two. I don't know how it's possible, but I did it. Now further down the path, there's going to be another enemy, which isn't hard to dodge at all. Just stun him and just go to the door, because the enemies can't go through loading doors. They are left there, so, which is nice. You can kill the crows, because the one in the very middle gives you a flash grenade, and I need those, obviously, for this challenge, so I did kill the crows with the grenade I had to get the flashbang. Because flash grenades in this is very important. It's the only way that you can non-lethally kill the enemies and run away without, of course, dodging them. So I went in one of the houses over here and got some items that I needed. And I left and went down to where the merchant is again to save, because there's another boulder section. There's two boulder sections in the village. One we just already did in chapter 1-1, and now in this one, 1-3, there's another one. This one is a little bit more annoying than the other one. I always die to this one on streams, but surprisingly for this stream, I did it on my first try, because normally I die to this one. I either die to this one or I die to the one in the farm. But surprisingly with both, I was able to get through them without dying. The fishing village is okay because there's tripwires, so I'm allowed to shoot the tripwires or bait them into walking into them, because those are also environmental deaths. But I'm not sure if I remember if I killed any of the enemies at that point. So, like I said, button mash as fast as possible in the beginning, and then just keep going and you'll be able to get through the boulder section. Once after the boulder hits, now we're going to head through the fishing village. The one thing I advise is not even bothering to shoot that tripwire, just drop down and just run straight to the door, because the enemies are just going to filter through and try to hit you. So you could shoot this one, but after that, just keep going. Pop shots off at the enemies, get the grenade, and go. Because the grenade is important for the Mendy Tendy grilled cheese strat that I found on the internet. Because when I very first played Resident Evil 4, my very first playthrough, I struggled with Mendez, and I found online that he's very weak to incendiary grenades. So after that, that's the only way I've been able to kill Mendez on the original 4. Because in the remake 4, they got rid of incendiaries, which was stupid. So now we're going to be fighting Lago. Lago in the original is much easier than the remake because of how the harpoons work. Because in the remake, the harpoons, how they have it is that you have to angle the range to shoot it, but in this one, there's just a big target radical that, regardless when you throw it, it will most of the time hit Lago. But I guess because they wanted to make it more realistic, they made it that way, which, in my opinion, is kind of dumb, but that's par for the course. So, Lago, as long as you remain steady with the boat and avoiding the tree debris and turning the boat away from him when he leaps back out of the water, you really won't get hit by Lago at all. It's annoying when he purposely baits you through the debris, but it's not as bad as a remake where when he starts jumping out of the water sporadically and everything else, or baiting you, and then he comes out of the water and tries to bite you immediately after is kind of annoying, but it's not bad in the original. It's pretty easy. It's probably one of the easiest bosses regardless if it's on normal or professional. And also the other dumb thing that I realized that was kind of dumb that they did was they literally made it to where Leon, if he gets knocked out of the boat in the remake, you die. At least in this game, if you get knocked out of the boat, Leon would swim back to the boat, so it would give you a chance to keep going in the boss fight. You won't just die. The only thing that sucks about it is that the less health the Leon has, the slower he will swim. And the slower he swims, the more chance of it he will die. But I've noticed that in the original, the health is Leon himself. In the remake, the health is the boat, which is kind of dumb. But it makes sense for the minecart section in the remake, but in the original, in the original, it makes no sense that the health is the boat. And then after you kill Lago, you just have to do button mashing to cut the rope. If you don't cut the rope in time, Leon will be dragged in the water and he'll drown. So that ends chapter 1-3. 2-1, I mean. So now in this chapter is where we're introduced to the Plagas. And like I said previously and earlier, we can, basically, if one dies by accident, it's fine, but I can't purposely kill the Plaga enemies. I go over here to fish for one of the fishes because I'm in desperate need of healing items, so I killed one fish. I struggled to pick it up, by the way. It's kind of hard to maneuver the boat to grab it. His boat controls is not boating right now. So I take the big fishy and then I return back and I head to the door with the Plaga enemy. And the Plaga enemies in this are going to be the bane of my existence, and you'll see why later. But for now, it's very easy to dodge the Plaga and head to the area with the boxes that you have to shoot the crates. You just go straight down and that's it. You don't have to interact with any of them. Now with this part specifically, you don't have to interact with the enemy at all. That's where the ladder is, because he's not in any way or shape or form in a way, so all you have to do is just run away from him. But I found shooting the crates from here is much easier than doing it when you go down to the bottom area. So all you have to do here is just avoid the bro up there, and then cross the boxes and up to where the switch is. I do go over here to get the ring, and then I backtrack over here to get the herb, because healing items during this challenge is very important, because like I said, you really can't kill anything. Now, after I decide to even try to go up that box, I go back around and I get the herb because I realize there's an herb there and I need it. So I get the herb and then I head back to where the lever is and then I will be pulling it shortly. And then after you pull the lever, a bunch of enemies will appear. As long as you get over here fast enough before the other enemies can jump over the boxes to get you, you'll see shortly that I just throw a flash grenade and run as fast as I can to the door with the key to unlock it to go get Ashley. And just be aware that getting Ashley basically makes this challenge 10 times harder, even with her armor on. And I always tell people the reason why I use armored Ashley in my challenges, it's not a skill issue, it's because I want to focus on Leon specifically, and his health and his survival than Ashley's, because a lot of the challenges I do are very difficult, and I don't want to increase the difficulty just by making Ashley unarmored. So, we got the key, now we can go and head back to the church. But first, our first roadblock that we have to kill is Big Thick, aka El Gigante. I did use the Broken Butterfly to kill him fast because of the fact that, like I said, I can't really take as much damage or do much else, so I figured just doing 2 shots of the Broken Butterfly would be sufficient. So I'm going to save because, like I said, saving is important with this challenge, and then I head up. But first, I think I interact with... No, I get the barrel. Because sometimes there's ammo in it, but 9 out of 10 times it's mostly money. Then now I go and fight Big Thick. The reason why I did it this way is because I don't want to spend too long on boss fights because they take way too long if you don't have the necessary weapons upgraded. Because normally I use the TMP, but I just wanted to like be done with it. So 2 good shots of a full maxed out Broken Butterfly just annihilates Big Thick. Once he dies, we will be heading back to the church, and surprisingly enough, I was able to dodge the dogs, because the remake only gives you 1 dog, but in the original they give you 3. And the dogs, in my opinion, are a pain because they like to jump a lot and knock you down, and if they knock you down, you're pretty much dead because you have to like rotate the stick to get them off. And that's kind of a pain, especially in the castle with the dogs. Because those dogs, especially the ones in the crates, are a pain because there's like 3 of them in 1 crate. So, once we leave this room, we're pretty much almost halfway done with the village, because all that's left is literally escorting Ashley to where the cabin is, the cabin fight, and then a few others, and then we're done when we fight Mendez. And I guess the snake despawned. I guess it was tired of Leon, waiting for Leon, and it just decided to just yeet itself out of existence. But here's where I had to dodge the dogs. I don't know how I did it. I just kept walking. And I missed the dogs. And now we are almost done with 2-1. Or whatever, 2-2. And then after this is when the challenge starts to pick up in difficulty, which is unfortunate. I did cut to this point because I did some things off screen. I didn't do anything. I just accidentally jumped off the platform. No, not I did jump off the platform. I accidentally did something and I had to cut the part out. So now I always forget the amount of turns you have to do for each one. But now since I've done it enough, The red is 2, green is 3, and blue's 1. After you turn these, you'll be able to remove the bar doors that are blocking the door where Ashley is, the gates. And then you get Ashley, and then the challenge gets 10 times harder because the enemies will start focusing, trying to grab her and attack her. So now, since we have Ashley, it's going to be a lot more difficult to basically try to get from point A to point B, because for some odd reason, if an enemy decides to hit her or like grab her, she'll just like crouch on the floor and try to hide, and since I can't kill enemies to protect her, I have to basically try to bait them away from her, and it's not a fun experience, but you'll be seeing that soon enough. So now we are done with this chapter. We only killed one enemy, which was one that I didn't kill myself. So now we are going to have to avoid shooting the barrels because I didn't even bother shooting them. And we have to head to the cabin, which is easier said than done. So I avoid shooting the barrel and I just keep running down the path avoiding the enemies, and then I head back to where the merchant is, where the ladder is leading to the, I don't know, is it like a basement or something? I don't even know what to call it. It's just an underground area, I guess. So now we are going to head up to where that church building is. And this part is a little bit difficult to get Ashley through, but the part after this is much harder to get her through. And I will show how infuriating it is shortly. But this part, I save of course, because I needed a save. Now, this part is kind of annoying due to the bear traps and the enemies. So I have to stun them, which is fine. As long as you just shoot their legs and just keep going, it's fine. But you can't shoot them constantly. And we get through that part pretty easy. This part is incredibly annoying. I had to go through this part 4 times, and I will show you how infuriating it is in this video. The reason why I'm showing it is because I want to show proof that it is possible, but you have to get lucky because the enemies will keep filtering through this house and bothering Ashley. And this attempt here, they kept crowding around Ashley and I couldn't really do anything because I can't kill anything. I got to the door myself, but Ashley wasn't with me because she got stuck on the bottom floor where the enemies are. So I restart and I start from here again. So in this attempt, I had similar results to an extent because, like I said, the enemies converge into this house. So you have to basically rush. Sorry, excuse me. You basically have to rush. And I kept getting attacked. I figured going to throw a flashbang would help, but it didn't because Ashley, I think, got grabbed or she got hit with one of the bear traps. So I had to restart again. This time, I did try to shoot the bear traps and do what I have to do. I stun the enemies and I throw a flashbang and try to climb up the ladder. Where's Ashley? Did she follow me? No. She got picked up again. So I was hoping that she would just follow me, and that didn't happen. Because she always decides to not follow and constantly keep getting picked up by the enemies and dropped because of the armor. So as I'm waiting for her, I try to survive the enemies as much as possible, and it's very difficult when you're getting stuff thrown at you and trying to avoid getting grabbed, so I try again. This time, I make sure to save because this is the ending of the first video and this is the start of the second video. So in the second video, I was able to almost get her to that point. So I kicked the enemy. See, she just kneels on the floor and like covers her head. I'm like, what are you doing? So I use a flash grenade. I was able to climb up the ladder and she just stands there. Like, if you see me climb the ladder, why don't you climb the ladder with me? But she doesn't do that. Now she does. Now this is the second portion of it that was really getting on my nerves. Is that they would stun lock her by the windowsill. And no matter what I did, they would constantly keep picking her up. And she would just stay in that corner. It didn't matter how many times I tried to shoot the enemies, throw a flash grenade, or do anything. She would just stand there. So I restarted because I was almost dead. Now with this attempt, I think I got a little bit further, but I think she still got stun locked by the window. Which, in my opinion, sucks. Because all you have to do, Ashley, is just keep following Leon. I don't know why she just can't not do that. It's not difficult. I think I'm able to do it this part, yeah. I was finally able to get to the door for the cabin. But I almost, like I said, I almost died. I had to stay by the door because Ashley kept getting picked up and then she got her stupid foot stuck. Twice, mind you. I thought shooting it would do something, but it didn't do anything, but she freed herself anyway. And then she got stuck again. And I had to help her. And you got to see a funny glitch of the guy running into me while I was helping her with the bear trap. Now, just an FYI, in this part I didn't kill any enemies. Luis did all of the brunt work. I might have killed accidentally like maybe 1 or 2 plagas, but all of the deaths in this point specifically were all Luis, because in the original, Luis is actually really good with this part. And the remake, he sucks. He's pretty much useless, but that's par for the cause. So, I usually, what I do is I push the cabinets to block the windows, and then I go upstairs. The reason why I have the PRL is because if you lightly tap the PRL, you can use it as an infinite flashbang, because not like in the remake, you can't make your own flashbangs. There's only a specific amount of flashbangs in the game unless they're dropped by enemies. But most of the flashbangs that I got was for the carryover from another save that I have and from the flashbangs the game gives you. So I think I accidentally hold it too long and I reset, but if you just lightly tap it, you can get an infinite flashbang. It's when you hold it and you let go is when it's lethal, but if you lightly tap it, it's just an infinite flashbang. But Luis basically is killing all the enemies for me. So, I usually stand up here by the stairs and deal with the enemies, but like I said, since I can't kill anything, I have to basically just use the flashbangs. And then after that, after this part, it gets a little bit harder again. And that's also not a kill that is intentional. So I had to restart because... No, I didn't restart yet. Because I remember I had to, unless I'm mistaken, I don't remember. But the plagas are a pain. I call them spaghetti noodles. The spaghetti noodles are a pain to deal with in this chapter specifically, with this part. Like, I had to avoid the enemies as much as possible. I normally don't go back down to the first floor, but I figured running around by the table would help for a little bit. It did, but more and more enemies kept coming into the cabin. I had to kick another one away from me. You know, the bros gotta grab Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy in this game is Baby Girl. This is the Baby Girl Leon. The RE4 remake Leon's Ostrich. That's what I named both of them. So what I normally do is I go around in circles and knock over the ladders. That's what I normally do as a strat, is I just knock down the ladders and I go around in circles as Luis is handling the enemies. I don't know how I didn't die there, but I mostly just cut out loading screens and, what is it called? The cases and stuff. So that's why there's like little jump cuts, is because I was using a healing item in a case and I didn't want to include it. And the Plaga enemy, trust me, was getting on my nerves. Every time I would go around in circles, I would go. Like, I accidentally killed the Plaga, but you see how many enemies there are. One enemy is really nothing, so I didn't count that against my challenge. Same thing with that one, it died, but I have way too many enemies. And I don't know why I kicked them. I was trying to knock down the ladder, but I guess kicking takes priority from the ladder, so I accidentally kicked them by accident. I was trying to push the ladder down. But the timer should be ending soon. And Luis was the only reason why I was able to get through this. Because in the remake, Luis basically is useless. All he does is backsash you and constantly tell you to go and help him when he barely has any enemies. One time he couldn't even handle 2 enemies. 2. Well, I had like 4 or 5 of them up my booty, but he was like, oh, there's so many enemies. I'm like, Luis, you only have 2 enemies, bro. It's not that bad. So now we did the cabin, which was one of the more harder parts of this challenge, and 28 enemies died, and only 2 or 3 of them was because of me. The rest was Luis. Now I'm gonna go upstairs and get whatever goodies that were left behind, including our glorious incendiary grenade and the flashbang. I leave the regular grenade because I have no use for it. Now we're gonna head downstairs and go outside. I always do the one with the second big thick because I find it to be a lot easier than going for the Bella Sisters. Because the Bella Sisters, there's so many enemies, plus there's 2 chainsaw enemies, and like I said, I can't kill them, so there's no point in going that way. At least with Big Thick, it's only 1 enemy, you kill him, and you just go. So that's why I chose that path. And I'm gonna do the same strat, which was basically just shooting using the broken butterfly, shoot him twice, and call it a day. And I find this one to be much easier. That's why I picked this one. I kinda got annoyed the fact that the remake removed this option, because you have to fight the Bella Sisters regardless, which is stupid. But just one more shot and Broski is dead. And we're almost done with the village. We just have to do the part with the lift, beat Mendez, and then that's it. It's easier to just swing the knife and break them. That's why I do that. And I'm just gonna get some of the goodies before we leave this area and go to the part with the lift. And you'll see shortly that it's impossible not to kill the enemies without doing so. Because you have to kill the enemies on the lift, because if you don't, they will kill you. Because they'll jump on top of the lift and start hitting the part. So you would have to shoot them. So that part is impossible to go through without killing the enemies. So it's fine with the challenge restrictions. If it hinders progress or they have to be killed for that reason, that's fine. So that doesn't count against us with the challenge. Because if I don't kill them, I'll die. So they halt progression. So now we're going to head to the lift. And I'm still disappointed that they removed the lift from the remake. Because the lift was actually not that bad. It was pretty simple. All you had to do was just shoot the enemies, and then you would be on the other side of the village to go towards Mendez. But like I said, they removed all the fun parts of Resident Evil 4. Like some parts I'm glad they removed. Sorry. I'm glad that they removed like the cage part. I was happy they removed. I'm also happy they removed the key card part and the island. Those parts I was happy that were removed, but this part is not annoying at all. I don't know why they didn't remove it. So these enemies, unfortunately, I had to kill. Because like I said, they would hit the top of the lift, and then Leon and Ashley would take a drop all the way down to wherever this valley ends. uh, but we're reaching the end of the village, and then we go into the castle. Which is not fun by any means, unprofessional. It's especially specific parts. This part, I actually enjoyed many years ago. When I first played Resident Evil, I thought it was fun, but now it's like, eh. So I've only been playing Resident Evil for about 2 years. Now we are going to fight the grilled cheese. The best grilled cheese since grilled cheese existed. I like how Ashley can't climb over that. She has to go through the door. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going through the door, Leon. And here's another flashbang. I need that. So I don't take the handgun ammo because I really don't need it. So the reason why I do the Mendy Tendy strat is because he's basically a bullet sponge, and it's better off just to use the grenades. Because 5 grenades kills Mendez. So it's just easier just to get that and just go. Now with Mendez, throw 5 grenades. I think it's 2 for the first phase and then 3 for the second phase. As long as you kind of keep your distance and just angle your throws a certain way, you'll be able to kill Mendez without getting hit. And I've done this so many times, it's basically second nature to me. So, I just breeze through Mendez. I basically bully poor Mendez, but Bendy Tendy is going to be grilled cheesed. He's gonna be a melted sandwich. A very melted sandwich. Come on, Mindy. You know you want to become the sandwich that you're meant to be. Well, the village is done, y'all. We were able to go through the village without really killing any of the enemies unless they were needed or whatever, but it's done. All I have to do is bring his nasty eyeball to the door and that's it. And let's just say the challenge gets even harder once we get to the castle. And you'll see why shortly, once we get there. And let's just say it's not fun by any means. It's really not. And also, I don't shoot the enemies that are by the car. I let the car hit them, and then I shoot the truck. You have to shoot the truck, because if you don't shoot the truck, you die. So, my go-to gun for the truck is the TMP. So, it's like the easiest way to hit the truck enough in order for it to get damage to where it doesn't kill Ashley and Leon. And once I post this video, I will be practicing RE1 and RE2 originals so I can start doing challenge runs for those games to not do Resident Evil 4 and 4 Remake so much. Because in my opinion, it kind of gets repetitive seeing the same game have challenges, so I want to start doing other Resident Evil game challenges. So now we can finally open the door and leave the village. I like how Leon just holds it and he just stares at the door like, it's my eyeball. Ew, no, I just get to throw it away. Yeah, those three enemies, you can just bait the truck down. The truck will just run them over and you don't have to kill them. And then once the truck tumbles down, you can just go past it and just run. There's going to be enemies spawning behind you, but it's just best to just keep walking. Even though Ashley's like, oh, they're behind you, Leon, and Leon's like, I don't care, I'm just walking. And it's gonna get harder and harder to avoid enemies at this point on, because at this point, it's intended for you to kill enemies. But since we are trying to be a good bean, and be a good Mr. Kennedy, we don't want to kill anything. But in the castle, it's much harder to avoid enemies, trust me. Especially when we get to the water room. The water room... Oh boy. There's so many enemies in the water room. It's like a massive amount of enemies just decide to appear, and then trying to dodge them all is not fun at all, trust me. But we will be going to the part soon enough with the catapults. And the catapult section is okay. The part before it with the swords is okay. But it's hard to avoid the enemies, but we'll be doing the catapult section first. So, how I did this part was I tried my best to avoid the enemies that are not involved with the catapults, but you can shoot the barrels, and that would necessarily kill the enemies, but the barrel killed them, not Leon. So those are fine. I don't know how I survived that, but we did survive it. Now we are going to the second catapult, which I always use this to shoot it. And then we are going to shoot the other one behind us. I had to shimmy a little bit so I could see the barrel. all that's left is the one up in the corner area that's across the cannon. So there's gonna be an enemy behind us, but I bait the guy with Ashley. I let her stand there. This one I had to kill because it would have been very hard for me to turn the crank if the enemy was shooting at me. I had to make sure if there was any more enemies, and then I started to rotate the hand crank to get the cannon to appear. I do like the catapult section and the remake more than the original, because at least with the cannon and the remake, you can still use the cannon to shoot the enemies and the thing. But in the remake, you just shoot the door and then you can't use the cannon anymore. So I had to call Ashley back to me, and then we are leaving this area and heading to the next section. But first, I decide to go and grab the yellow herb that's in this trunk, and then I leave. Then after that, I actually leave and go to the, where the door used to be. And I do talk to the merchant, but I cut all of it out. I didn't do anything. I forgot what I was doing, but I edited out for, you know, obvious reasons. It's just filler. So now you have to grab both of the swords and switch them to their corresponding color plate. So it's very difficult to avoid the enemy, so I just drop Ashley there so they're baited to go and grab her, while I try to get the sword from the door. And trying to do that was very annoying and a pain, because I died there. So to save y'all time, I just cut going through the whole thing and just pop back here to save on time, because I highly doubt you guys want to watch me redo that part. So now we're going to try this again. I'm gonna grab this one first, and then just switch them. And trust me, it's very annoying to try to, like, go away from these enemies. But it's not always possible to not get hit by them, because you can't kill anything. So I left the area, and I had to go get Ashley because you can't leave without her. Which is kind of dumb, but those two deaths don't count because of the fact that they were self-defense kills. Now we are going to go here, and just be aware, once I get to the part with the barrel, I accidentally killed enemies with the, what is it called? The stupid PRL. I accidentally killed, like, a few of them by accident, because I held it too long. So I could take the L for that, because I was getting frustrated after a while with the challenge, because it was starting to get on my nerves and I wasn't paying attention. I was supposed to lightly tap it, but I held it, and those enemies die. So I could take the L that I messed up. So I was like, well, shit, I'm not redoing that again. The barrel is fine, you can use that. So I leave the room with the key in hand and go to the door that requires the key to open. So we're heading close to the water room. And we're going to see Ramon Salazar, which I like to call him Ramen Salami. That's his nickname, or Little Captain Crunch. Because he looks like Captain Crunch. So now we're going to go here. And I'm going to save, obviously. Because saving in this challenge is imperative because you don't know if you're going to be able to go through the area again. Safely. I usually dump Ashley over by the door where the Gardevoir is, and then I do the part with the Gardevoir and then I leave. So I'm just gonna leave her here. I forgot to grab the key. And then once I grab the key, I will go to the area with the Gardevoir and then kill it, obviously, because if you don't kill it, there's a door where that opens to it, will close, and it will lock you down with it, so you have to kill it regardless. It's not like the remake where you can just stun it, turn the hand crank, and leave. This one you actually have to kill, unfortunately. So once I go downstairs, I think I used the Broken Butterfly. I forgot what gun I used to kill him. I normally use the rifle to kill him, but I haven't watched this video in a bit, so I think I used the Broken Butterfly to kill him. Because normally I use the semi-auto to kill him, but I just wanted to get through this, so I didn't even want to, like, waste time. So I just had to wait until the big lug decided to turn around, and then I was able to shoot him. Or getting your hand stuck in the wall is even better. So now we can finally go upstairs, but I forgot that I didn't pull the lever, so I had to go back downstairs again. Because I always forget to pull the lever all the time. Yeah, because I'm like saying to myself, did I pull the lever? I'm like, no, I didn't. Because if you don't pull the lever, the enemies don't spawn in. Sorry about the yawning. So now we will be pulling the lever, and then we will be going to the water room. And the water room is the bane of everybody's existence that plays Resident Evil 4. The water room is where your hopes and dreams for this game die. Because it's incredibly infuriating with the amount of enemies and the varieties of enemies, because you have enemies with the crossbows, you have the enemies with the shields, you have the enemies with the helmets, you have the red enemy, you have enemies with the ball and chain, then you have enemies that don't, so it's just a bunch of different enemies. So I got lucky with the dynamite stick, and then Ashley kept getting stun locked, but she was able to get away without me wasting another grenade. And then this is where the challenge starts to deteriorate, by the way. Virtually, once you get to this point, the challenge is impossible. Unless you cheat or you are using some form of an exploit. Because the amount of enemies that filter in this room and what you're supposed to do is virtually impossible. Because the goal is to go to the bottom room and push both of the pressure plates down. But since there's so many enemies and I can't kill them, Ashley won't be able to get to the pressure plate to bring up the one of the wheels to turn. And like I said, it's virtually impossible. So you can beat the village with the pacifist, but you can't beat the castle. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Have a good day or night. Adios.